So we have Dr. Sam Kamau, who's a lecturer at Aga Khan University. He's also a political analyst in his own right. Thank you for joining us on Worldview this afternoon. Let's start from where Kitili has actually just dropped it. So we have people from Embu not very happy with the president for missing out on the presidential debate. Do you think that hurt him?
Well, I think the people who have complained the most about the president not appearing at the debate is who you would consider Jubilee supporters or from his base. I think they're the ones who have spoken loudly, loudly on social media and other platforms. They have expressed their disappointment and concern, maybe partly because it denied them ammunition in their conversations. For example, in the closed WhatsApp group conversations on Facebook and other places, it would have given them something to talk about. But now this was NASA or Raila Odinga getting 90 minutes and with no response, so they've been affected. In a sense, I think what you will see from Jubilee and from the president specifically, and part of what you saw in Nyeri, he has to speak to the base to assure them. Yes, to assure them, because at the moment, I think they have lost enthusiasm as a result of him not showing up in the debate.
But in his defense, he actually addressed his supporters on Facebook just the other day and answered all manner of questions that they had. But
the debate would have given him a bigger platform. We are talking about the combined audience of TV and radio. Facebook, he has 3 million followers on Facebook. Yes, he spoke to people and responded to a couple of issues, but the two platforms are not comparable. In a sense, the debate would have given him a bigger voice.
You think he should have gone? He should have attended it?
Not necessarily. I think the decision from his side was informed by a clear strategic. It's part of his strategy. He thinks that there is a way he can speak to the undecided voters who I think the debate would have addressed better in other ways. And if you look at the polls that have been showing, it's a close race. I think he knows his base is
we're almost looking at a runoff, you know, looking at the latest numbers.
Not necessarily.
You don't think?
I don't think we'll have a runoff.
Why not?
Basically because even if it shows that the race is tight, if you look at the number of undecided voters, most likely they will make up their minds before that time. And I think even given the fact that the latest polls indicated that the undecided voters, the number has reduced from, I think, about 8% to 6%. And the number of the other independent candidates, or rather the fringe candidates, it has not increased. It means the undecided are making up their minds to support
between
the two. Yes, Raila
Jubilee
Odinga
or NASA.
So in a sense, I still believe the pattern will continue and the undecided will make up their minds to support one of the two candidates. So I think we are likely to have around one victory.
Well, let's have an honest conversation. Debates, presidential debates, and what we had yesterday, how much of power do they have in terms of changing the minds of undecided voters?
Well, from at least research shows, debates don't always necessarily help people to make up their minds. It's just a good media spectacle where people get to watch and see two candidates. Maybe we were more keen on a contest between the Odingas and the Kenyatas. It would have helped us in a way.
For this too.
But it doesn't always necessarily help people make up their minds. But clearly there are some people, and I think you have seen the comments from Meru, maybe out of that disappointment of the president not showing up, they had a chance to consider Raila Odinga. The other thing you have to remember is that in his closing remarks, Raila wanted to show an elder statesman.
Yes.
He spoke nicely and, extended almost an olive branch to both Uhuru and Ruto. He actually expressed some kind of disappointment. I think yes, and in a sense, if you look at it, it could have appealed to some people who have always been afraid of this Raila, the Raila phobia. Maybe that is what he sought to address, and I think we saw a different Raila who was
maybe he was just trying to unify the nation, because he said, my brother, I expected him to be here, and
that is one of the things that debates would help to lower the tensions. You know, when people see malumbano, on the political
and they're right next to each other.
People are just shouting on the political platforms. When they are next to each other, they shake hands, smile at each other, and speak, in a cordial way. It helps the nation to understand that this is actually just politics. We are not fighting. And I think that is what Raila tried to say in the end. Yeah.
It actually helps to quell the tension when you see the two of them on the same podium, probably sharing a joke or something. Then it makes some of their supporters look at them and say, okay, it's never that serious.
You have to acknowledge that the campaigns have been a little bit tense, and I think every time as we get closer to the date of the elections all across the world, elections tend to become a bit more partisan. The campaigns are much more partisan. The campaigns are a little bit more intense, and you are likely to hear, people trading insults and that harsh language. So debate is actually a perfect opportunity where the candidates step back and maybe talk to each other in a more friendly tone. It assures the nation, and the supporters know that this is just a political contest, after 8th of August, we still have a nation.
We still have a nation.
So regardless of who wins, Kenya must win. Yeah.
And now they're talking about the upcoming election. Let's talk about the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission in terms of how ready they are to handle this particular election. They've had cases back and forth. If you were to sort of give them a scorecard, what sort of scorecard would you give them and why?
In terms of preparedness, I think largely they have tried. The biggest issue is communication. It's giving information so that people know, are you ready? I think part of the challenge, and I think that is why they have found themselves misunderstood. When they took office, they understood that public confidence in IEBC was at an all-time low. Yeah. So they've had a chance to, a perfect opportunity to win over the public. And how do you do that? By being more transparent, engaging more with the people, but also communicating quite often. There are so many questions that keep coming up. And election is surrounded by, a bit of mystery and secrecy and suspicion. So by communicating more openly and more frequently, I think we'll get a sense, where are we? So when they don't talk, for example, they don't tell us about the testing of the equipment and of the kit and getting ready, we are left to fill in the blanks. And that is why people are suspicious. So their greatest failure has been on the area of communication. So largely, the issues that bedeviled the 2013 elections in terms of technology and other administrative issues, a good number of them have been addressed by either the law or certain measures that have been put in place. But IEBC is not telling us, so we are left with the questions, and the issues keep coming up over and over again. So I would expect between now
13 days, we have 13 days.
13 days. They have to communicate more, tell us we are ready, tell us what they are doing. For example, the issue of the register. Questions kept coming up, and until last week, somebody went to court, but at the same time now I can be able to check or access at least the register that is relevant to me in my polling station.
But you do know you can check your register, but the ID numbers are not there, and that is another issue that Kenyans have.
Exactly, and it is part of the secret. Of course, I don't want my ID number to be visible to everyone who checks, but I think there are people who are interested, and there are mechanisms that have been put in place where anybody who wanted to see or inspect the register would get that access. So I think IBC needs to communicate a little bit more, maybe get more surrogates to speak, because I think we've been seeing one lady speaking consistently.
Rosemary Akombe, one of the commissioners.
And I think partly we have also seen the chairman, but not frequently, and the CEO. But we need to hear more from them. We need to know, are we ready? They need to give us that assurance, because I know there are challenges that have been placed on their path. For example, the court cases, the numerous court cases, and I know it tends to throw them off balance in terms of planning. But we must not forget, right now we are all fixated on the debate last night, but we still have 13 days. Yeah. Campaigns must go on, and we have to prepare for the elections. And I think that is where IBC has been failing. But in a sense, I think they are trying. I've seen a bit of voter education.
Civic education.
Well, I would call it voter education, because they're trying to demonstrate how the specific process would happen. I need to know when I go to the polling station, how will it be 6 elections?
What will I find?
What am I likely to find? What is expected of me? This information needs to come out consistently. And I think that has been the key challenge. If you remember that time, people were supposed to go and verify, check their details. We had a whole month for people to go and do a verification of their details. Even though we knew the exercise was running for almost 30 days, people did not know what was expected of them. What was I supposed to go and do? Check my polling station, check whether my details are okay, and where was I supposed to go? If I transferred my vote, am I supposed to go up country? Am I supposed to go here in Nairobi? Could I visit any office? That is the information that is not available. And I think my appeal to them is talk to us more. Engage with the political parties more, talk to the key players a little bit more, so that everybody at least has a sense of assurance or confidence in the process. Yes.
Political parties, neither here nor there, but for the voters, yes, that's very important.
I think political parties are important because those are the people who make noise. I think if Jubilee comes out and says they have no confidence in IBC, that is what Jubilee supporters would think. When NASA comes and says they are suspicious about IBC's motive, maybe in pursuing a particular company to print the ballot, that is what NASA supporters will think. So in terms of engaging political parties, and I think this is one thing they have been doing quite well, at least engage more, tell them of your plans. I mean, at least...
And today they're engaging the media.
Exactly, engage the media, because that is the best platform for voter education, or what you call civic education. Yes, and other players also need to come on board. It is not just IEBC. The media has to play its part, and I think presidential debate is part of that process in terms of giving people an opportunity to evaluate the different candidates, not just the presidential, but even the gubernatorial. I think it's good. I've seen a couple of those debates, senatorial contest and the other contests. Yes.
Okay, so the latest opinion poll indicate that we may be heading towards a runoff, yes, no?
No, I don't think that is what the polls indicate. What they showed is that the race has tightened. There are still a number of undecided voters who I think they are people who most likely are leaning one way or the other, or they haven't made up their minds, or maybe they don't want to say that they have already made up their decision. The opinion polls, the fact that they are is about 6%. If we add that to either of the candidates, I think we'll have somebody getting to 50+1.
Okay. Dr. Sam Kamau, lecturer at Aga Khan University, also a political analyst. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
This afternoon, you have been watching Worldview. Thank you so much for staying with us. Allow me to leave it at that. We'll see you at 9 p.m. on KTN Prime. I'm Linda Ogutu.